Hola, Heather. Thank you very much for accepting this invitation.
Of course. Thank you for asking me.
I have not seen you probably like 16 years or something like that.
I
Yeah.
know. And we look the same that we did 16 years ago,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Younger, probably.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I was very interested in calling you to have this opportunity to talk to you because your documentary, A Question of Humanity, that you shot in 2017, actually was for me um, it was an impact for me personally. I have watched it probably 5 times. Last night I watched it again,
Oh,
and it's a point of reference for conversations that I have. My children's, my two girls that they have watched it also like 2 times, and I always refer to your documentary as a reference about, for example, love. Love is a very, like there in your documentary, um, you can see physically, like it's not a poetic mean or theory or nice things about the love, but it's very practically showing how the love of power can change things, so, and also the other side of the coin is how powerful the when you turn away your problems that are in our little community, in our town, in our country, in our world, and if we look to the other way, that problem is gonna hit us no matter what. So that is why for me it's very powerful. It's very like amazing. So maybe I would like to show the trailer now, and we can start talking, but so people can uh, can see your documentary.
The mysterious nodding syndrome has claimed the lives of even more children in northern Uganda and South Sudan. The locals describe the children with the disease as alive in dead bodies.
The case of nodding syndrome, it's big. It's very big.
I've been a neurologist for 24 years and I've never seen anything more horrific than nodding syndrome.
And I think to many parents that wished these kids were dead.
We're talking about people, we're talking about children, they're being tied onto trees like cows, like animals.
There was once upon a time a disease called slim disease that occurred in Uganda, and nobody thought much of this disease. It really wasn't worth investigating until we renamed it HIV/AIDS.
I am from northern Uganda. I know what it means to be helpless.
This van has no four-wheel drive, no special gear.
We've wasted half of the day. Yes. We have not done anything.
I just think this is negligence. I think this is a responsibility that should be taken. This is just frustrating. You would think their lives have ended, there's nothing that can be done, but actually these children can live a functional life. They can improve. The most important thing is raising the profiles of these children, creating awareness about this disease. I feel like I have the opportunity to do something. I have my time to give. These children are strong. They are fighting it.
Just because we have determined it's not infectious, that does not mean that it won't show up on American soil one day. The answers must be found.
Available now on video on demand.
I haven't seen that in a while. It's hard to watch.
Yes, and so so this is about, if you can tell us what it's about and how you got involved, how did you knew about this problem over there?
Sure. I live in San Antonio, Texas. the United States. To be honest, and it's embarrassing, I couldn't have even shown you on a map where Uganda was, which is embarrassing to say. So I was out with some friends. We were having some drinks, not thinking anything about Uganda or Africa or anything besides, my own reality. And I met Dr. Gazda, Dr. Suzanne Gazda, who's featured in the documentary. She's a neurologist here in San Antonio, an amazing doctor. And so I was just, talking, wasn't trying to make a documentary, wasn't trying to think of anything else. But she was telling me that she had kind of the backstory is her daughters who were in college wanted to go to Uganda during a spring break vacation to dig water wells. And so Dr. Gazda went with her daughters. They just thought, we're going to do some charity work. We're going to dig some water wells. So while they're out in Uganda, Dr. Gazda, as a neurologist, she starts seeing these kids and hearing about this nodding syndrome. And, because she has that medical background, she's thinking, this isn't right. Something's going on. Something's really strange. So she starts, investigating this more and starts digging into this disease called nodding syndrome. And by the way, it's called nodding syndrome because the children literally start nodding their heads. That's one of the symptoms. So Dr. Gazda, just kind of by accident, she thought she was just going on vacation, found out about nodding syndrome. So she started an organization called Hope for Humanity. And so that's an organization that she self-funded, very generous person. She created kind of a center in near Gulu, which is a small city in northern Uganda, where children from the villages could come and be in a safe area. They would get food, nutrition. Basically, it was almost kind of just a place to safely keep these kids. But there wasn't a cure. No one really knew much about this. So she's telling me, we're at a bar, and she's telling me about this, and she's saying that the children in these villages, life is so much different than our life in these villages. So if you don't work all day, you don't eat. So a lot of these parents, they'll have these children with nodding syndrome, and when they have these kind of seizure episodes, they can fall into a fire, fall into a river. A lot of people cook with open fires. So you might have seen in the preview, a lot of the children were burnt. It's because they would have these episodes and fall into the fire, and they don't even know they're burning. They'll just be there until somebody pulls them out. We've had, kids drown. They may be walking somewhere and they'll have one of these nodding syndrome episodes, and they'll fall in the river and drown. So what the parents were doing, and Dr. Gazda was telling me, is that they would tie kids up to trees like animals during the day. And you saw one of the images there. So basically it's kind of like, how could a parent tie your kid up to a tree? But it's sort of this weird, terrible situation where if they don't work all day,
exactly,
they can't feed their family, but they can't just leave their child around, for fear that something would happen to them.
And plus is the stigma, right? The stigma that the devil is something related to the devil.
Exactly. And that's another thing, just the level of medical education there. They don't know what this is. So a lot of people, think it's demons or they're possessed. In the preview, you saw the little girl, she was actually having a nodding syndrome seizure episode. So they don't want to have these kids around. Parents won't let their kids play with these kids. There was Balaam and his brother, their stepmom actually kicked him out, made them live, their kids living in their own hut because she doesn't want them around the other kids. So I just, couldn't believe that in this world, children are being tied up to trees.
So when you were in the bar, so when you were in the bar, what happened that it make a click in you?
I think it was just that image of children being tied up to trees. And, I'm like, how is this happening? And I'm sitting here, like, it's just not fair. Like my life and their life, it's just not fair. And so I was just right then and there, I'm like, I'm going to Uganda. I don't know how. I'm going to do a documentary and I'm going to expose this. And that was it. I just made a decision and I was going to figure out how to do it. Didn't know how, but I was going to.
And you grab a crew, you had your sound guy probably?
No, No, so we had no budget. I had never made a documentary before. So I was like, I don't know how you do this. So I first looked for grants or funding, and since I wasn't proven, no one wanted to do anything about it. So I have a producer friend who I worked with in TV news. He and I was like, guess what? We're going to Uganda, grab a camera, let's do this. So it was very, very, very low budget, just two of us.
So which camera do you use? Do you use which camera?
It was actually a Canon 5D, which is technically a still camera. In retrospect, what were we thinking? Because we had to record sound separately, and then all these interviews, we had to sync them back up, and they speak Acholi, which is crazy. It was just really hard.
And you're able to record just half hour.
Right. So there's clips, and this. And in Uganda, I'd never seen this on my 5D, but it had this heat warning, and it would just shut off. So there were some challenges.
Wow.
We had to have a solar charger.
So your sound was just a little boom?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Hook it to your camera.
Well, we actually hooked it to a Tascam.
Okay. External. All right. Yeah.
Exactly. So if we were smart, we would have had it gone directly in, and it would have already been synced. But yes, we learned a lot of technological, lessons.
Okay, that's great. That's great to know for the people who want to start shooting,
Right. And what I would say is if you have, a story or a message, just literally just do it. Just do it, and it'll find a way the story will find a way to come out. So don't feel like you need to have a bunch of money or expensive equipment. Just do it.
And so how was your husband's reaction when you said, I'm going to Uganda? James, yeah.
James was kind of like, he knows that I can't be stopped. So he's like, okay, go for it. So he was a little concerned, but the people in Uganda are beautiful and wonderful. And, I never felt unsafe. And so,
this was, I think, if we can talk about a little bit, because we're so ignorant, at least myself, I think the north of Uganda and the south of Sudan, and these have been around Sudan, mostly wars, a lot of wars for so many years, and so cruel that it's a very good documentary out there that is called The Devil Coming a Horseback, which show the brutality of in Sudan, in Darfur, the war over there, and how they kidnapped children for the war to fight against their own people, their own villages. And these create people who wants to escape from the war zone, and the government create these camps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is how supposedly the theory is that this Nodding syndrome disease started, right?
Exactly. So just like you said, here in North America, we have no idea what people in Uganda go through. Thank God there's no warlord. We don't have, it's a very challenging life they live. But just like you said, and there was another documentary called Coney, I believe it's called Coney 20. Yes. That one. Yeah. So Coney, this warlord, he's actually from the Acholi tribe, and the Acholi tribe is who we lived with. So, just due to so many issues, just like you said, what happened is Coney turned on his own people, and started.
Supposedly he was the liberator, right?
Mm-hmm,
supposedly.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, so they, like you said, they will kidnap kids. And in the documentary you saw, these kids are like 10, 11, with machine guns. They kidnap them, force them to, fight their own people. And Jolie, one of the women in the documentary, she was kidnapped as a high schooler and forced to fight, her own people. So what the government of Uganda did is they made these IDP camps, internally displaced people's camps. So it's kind of like they set aside an area and they're like, okay, guys, you all cram in here and you'll be safe. But these camps are filthy, it's crammed with people. There's no hygiene. There's no, the sewage is all over the place. So what we have been able to trace this nodding syndrome back to is the first time that we reported cases, they had the individuals had stayed in these IDP camps. So was it an environmental toxin? What is it about these camps that cause this disease? Because we don't see it anywhere else in the world. So that's kind of the big mystery is, there have been some, philosophies that some sort of like a fly carries this disease. But if that were the case, it would be more than just this isolated area. So that's really the mystery is, did the Ugandan government do something? Was it accidental? Was it a man-made chemical? What is it? So that's really the big issue. And I guess the deal is now that we don't have those camps anymore, we're not seeing as many cases of nodding syndrome. So something happened in those camps, and it's just right now it's just a mystery. What happened?
So now the syndrome have been in decreasing.
Right. So from what I understand is that it has been decreasing. It's not contagious, so you can't catch this. But it has been decreasing, which is great. But it's kind of like this generation of kids, I feel like they deserve answers. What happened?
Right. Totally.
What happened?
Yes.
And so that's just really the mystery. And it seems like just because I don't know if these are poor people in rural Uganda, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of interest to really dig in and find out. Now, if this happened in the United States, it would be a totally different, story. But it's almost like a poverty situation that the value of these kids' lives isn't worth investigating.
Right.
And that's kind of
well, maybe it happened in another level, but in our communities and society, it happened. This phenomenon, it happened anyway in another scale, of course. Like the poor and they suffer, more than the average white or rich people. Maybe in my country we are not white, but the richer get more justice than the poor or more health.
Absolutely, and I feel like that's separating more and more. There's the haves and the have-nots. The have-nots really don't have anything. So it just made me realize, we're all the same. We're all of our lives. We're all the same value, but it's just, I don't know, it was just difficult for me to see the way that, people are treated, and I don't know, it was very eye-opening.
Yeah, that is for me, this documentary is very interesting, like scientifically, because you can see, you can prove. It's like if I go to a court against humanity, I can say, this is exhibit 1, the documentary, A Question of Humanity, and I can put it there as a proof, as exhibit that what's going on in our society. And I was also, it took my attention that in your documentary, I think it was very, I don't know for you, but in in caricature way, somebody who would go to Africa to shoot anything, photo shooting, documentary, whatever, even a trip, I think it's the temptation to have the picture of yourself and patronize this thing of, oh, the poor and the me that I'm so cute and so nice. And you didn't do that. And that, for me, I think is very cool of you.
And that was a really conscious decision, that it wasn't about some white chick going, like, I'm not the trope of like, oh, the white hero I'm coming to save. I didn't want that at all, because I'm not. Right. And so I just wanted to observe and just show people, hey, this is what we saw. So it was very conscious not to be like, oh, here's my, vacation video. You know
exactly.
what I mean?
Exactly.
Right.
I think it was very smart of you, and it was nice because your work is a window for us to see, and that was 100% achieved. That was great.
Thank you.
And Yeah. For example, I do. I use your documentary or this case as a reference because if we take that as so many different experiences around the world, that, like for example, in my country, Chile, at this moment, we have a point where we are taking more seriously the genocide, I would say, of the natives people. You know, when it was colonized by the Spaniards, they killed like so many, like even in the south, even in Tierra del Fuego, Cape of Horns, they came English people from Scotland, and they just killed everybody. Cultures that were so amazing that we don't know nothing about because are not. So right now, it's an inflection point, I think you can say, where the Mapuches, which is the natives, they have been taking land that it have been robbed from them for the people who plant trees for wood, for chips. That is totally horrible for the land. And I think if we don't cure that wound that is bleeding, the whole country is not gonna heal. It's not never. So we have to take care of those. So that is the vision of we are a block, and then we're a city, and then we're a country, and then we're a world. And if we look to the other way, that thing is gonna hit us.
Right. Exactly. And it's happening in here in the United States. We hear about the Native Americans when the English and Europeans came over, just decimated the native population. And so, there's languages that are lost, and we're losing languages just like in Chile as well. And so it's kind of like in history books, I remember thinking, wow, I can't believe these white people came and, consciously wiped out all of these tribes, all of these cultures. But in Uganda, I'm like, wow, I'm living this. I'm watching this happen for the Acholi tribe. Right. So, that's why I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just I'm one person. But I wanted to just show, like you said, this is a window. I just want to show you the world. And
yeah, exactly. And so many things, so many things like coups, when people go and kill people, they think that it's like Iraq war, okay, we'll do this and then everything's going to be all right. Well, no, it has like 50, 100 years consequences, 200 years consequences, because it's a wound that is bleeding. And so I was going to ask you how this affect your own documentary. How did it affect you and your relationship with your closest circle, which is your husband? How it changed this documentary to yourself about love and caring, or how this influenced you?
I think it really made me value life. I didn't realize how how precious it is, because when we were in Uganda, you just see people's lives, it's just gone like that. So I think it just made me appreciate, my husband and friends and family, because life is so precious and it's so fast, and it's, we're not guaranteed anything. So I think it just made me just really, appreciate that. And also it made me, in terms of material items, it made me think, I don't need it, so it's just, happiness is not related to anything material. I think it just kind of took me back to the basics of, life and love. And I think I was just also really impressed with, we lived with the Acholi tribe. They don't have anything, nothing. But they're so happy and so kind and so loving. And it just made me think like, this is life. This is the real thing. It's not about what, car you have or what, they're just so beautiful and pure. And I just loved that. And it just made me, like I said, just really appreciate life and loved ones and don't take things for granted.
Right. Like love is something that's there and you have to take care. And and probably this documentary was a cable to Earth that you took and you still have it and you have to take care of that.
Right.
So have you done another project, documentary, or?
We're actually working on a project. It's a collaboration with YWCA, which is an organization here. It's called Why Can't They Just? And so what it is we're focusing on 8 different women who are struggling in life. So for example, people may drive by and you see a woman with a child begging on the side of the street. And people think, well, why can't they just get a job? Why can't they just do this? Why can't they just do that? So what we're doing is we're going into these individual, women's lives and kind of letting you understand why. So maybe one of these women, was raped as a teenager. Now she has a child and she's taking care of an elderly person. Why can't she go to college? Well, this is why she can't. These are the challenges. Right. She's trying to put food on the table. So it's just really kind of peeling back the layers, just to show these are the challenges that people have. And when you're like, oh, why don't they just get a college degree? Why don't they just get a job? This is why. Right. So it's an interesting project that we're working on. And, again, I hope it does sort of what this last documentary did, just kind of help people realize and sit back and get out of their own heads and see, what other people are going through. So we can have
it's because we work or we wake up and we press the pilot mode always. So everything's like a pilot. We react as we react yesterday and the day before and the day before. So we see somebody and we react the same way that we react with the guy a year ago. So we don't see anything. We don't live the moment because we react in a pilot mode,
Right.
So
right.
we are prejudging always the situations. So
absolutely,
you are taking in this documentary, you are taking out the stigma and you are presenting the people with their names and their lives. How that's great.
And I think what's interesting is so often, people will be, oh, that's just the maid. Oh, that's just the waiter,
right,
dismissive. Right. But no, these people are, are hardworking people. They're funny. They have friends. They have relationships. Like, you're not just the maid. You're a person who has a family and it has value and is creative. So that's what we're trying to do is like the wallpaper people or people that the unseen people in society. Right. We're seeing them and showing them.
That's great. So when you think that is gonna show or it's gonna be finished?
So we're hoping, I'm hoping, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have everything wrapped up. So yeah, it's a really exciting project and, I'm learning a lot and, I just hope it exposes people because you don't know, you run into somebody at the grocery store, maybe they're mean to you or something, but what you don't know is that person is a caretaker of a child who has cancer, and that's why they, you know what I mean? Like, you have to understand. So it's just kind of having more, I guess, giving people more space and having grace and
humble.
So that's what I'm.
We have to learn.
Humble. Right.
Humble. We have to learn to be humble.
That's right.
We have to see when the person in Walmart is kind of pissed and it haven't been rude, but it's a little bit rough. So you think that it's against you or she shouldn't talk like that, but you don't know that she had been like 18 hours standing.
Exactly. Her back hurts, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So, exactly. So hopefully we'll have a little more, I mean, that's what we, everything going on over here in the United States, like we all need to just have more understanding. There's common ground, folks, let's find it. So that's what I'm hoping. So
you have your production company with James, right?
Yep. Mhm.
and that is called IMG.
Yes, it's IMG. So I'm in charge of kind of the video production side of things, and James is in charge of more the software development, so video games and apps and things like that.
Okay.
So we kind of have our specialties.
So the documentary part is kind of like one little arm of this octopus of company, let's say.
Yes, it feels like an octopus sometimes. Yes. So exactly.
Okay.
Right.
And you have been working out like financially, I mean.
Yeah, so we you know, the way it started is, as you know, I was in TV news, and so I started, you know, I like the art of storytelling through video and sound, but I got tired of local news.
Right.
So, you know, started this video production site, and James, he supported us financially through having a full-time job, and he, you know, did software development. So when we got to a place where he could leave that job and build out his own software development side of things, you know, we were able to concentrate full-time on this. Yeah.
That's great. Congratulations. And so your documentary, Hope for Humanity, A Question of Humanity.
Hope for Humans. Hope for Humans, that's the organization, but A Question of Humanity is
Yeah, I'm gonna edit this video, so I'm gonna put the Hope for Humans is the organization, right?
Hope for Humans.
Okay, and A Question of Humanity, you can reach it or you can watch it in Vimeo, right?
Exactly.
And another platform? In Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. So Vimeo or Amazon.
Okay, I'm gonna put it there. And thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you. Say hi to James.
I will. It's an absolute pleasure. I miss you.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for reaching out.
Thank you. Good luck to you, and I'm here for whatever.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Ciao.